go scoot the chair back, Mom.
Hey everyone, welcome to Back Porch Confessions. We are in Tennessee this week. Sorry, I'm trying to move my chair. I have with me this week my daughter Michaela, my daughter Jennifer, my sister-in-law Jamie, and my mother Donna. Say hi everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
So this is our Women Packed one. I will have the questions that I'll ask these young ladies. So we're going to start with my daughter Michaela, who's absolutely thrilled to do this.
It is an honor to be on your podcast, Mom. So I didn't expect to be on it so soon, but here we are.
Here we are. Well, this is just a simple one. I'll have more that I'll probably end up doing with both of you. And I've already told you that. Because I'll be going back and forth. She's going to have a baby in September.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Little girl.
Little girl, Miss Aubrey. I got it right because I keep wanting to say Audrey instead of Aubrey. I don't know why. Anyway, so Michaela, as someone in your season of life, what's been the biggest surprise about womanhood or adulthood for you?
This is an interesting question because I didn't ever really think of something like this. But I would say free will, probably, because I was never really taught that I could have like free will. You know, I always said was taught you work and you pay your bills, and then you live life after that. But really, life's too short to wait to enjoy life for what it is. You know what I'm saying? You only get one life.
Yeah.
And you're not put here on this earth to work. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't God's plan. So we're supposed to enjoy life for what it is, and then working is, unfortunately, part of what we have to do.
Yeah.
In this day and age. But I think that you have the opportunity to do whatever it is that you want. So why wait for someone to give you permission to do that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it be a person, a job, a lifestyle, or something like that.
Right. So you're in your 70s, Mom. 70, right? 70 this year?
72.
72.
Yes,
So, sorry, I should know that, but I'm terrible with that kind of thing.
Me too.
So, you're having to work into your 70s and have been. At your age, how does that feel to hear a young girl say that she's, sad that has to be part of our daily life? Because you were raised just like she was, work constantly. That's how you lived your life.
Right, and I worked
not
hard.
a lot of free will.
Right. Yeah. I just, I guess that what I would have to say is that you just have to take life as it comes.
Just speak up a little. Just speak up a little louder.
A little louder?
Yeah.
Oh my.
You're just so far back. I want to make sure they can hear you.
I have a hearing problem for a while until I get to the doctor. Sometimes I can't hear my own self, so I don't know how. But anyhow, I think the most important thing is just understanding where you're headed, what you want to do, and believe in yourself.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. All right, Michaela. Question number 2. Are you ready? How do you balance ambition with protecting your peace? I've seen you struggle with that in the years that you chose to jump right into adulthood.
Yeah.
Finding peace in who you are and what you have to do.
Yeah, that was a tough question. But I mean, I think it took time for me to figure out how to balance it. I struggle with being a perfectionist all my life. So I wanted everything to be perfect, and I want to be in control of every single outcome there is, but you're not in control, actually.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So once you realize that, you take care of yourself, and the rest kind of just follows. If you're taking care of your mental health, physical health, well-being, things like that, I think
it's super important to take care of your mental health. That's
Most
where you
definitely.
find a lot of your peace.
Yeah,
is being able to
exactly.
do that. Yeah.
Exactly. So when you take care of yourself and take those 5 minutes, whether it be you're journaling or you're praying or you're doing some yoga, some breathing exercises, it's doing something for yourself that you take those 5 minutes that you can come to the realization that where you are at, be in the moment, be present, because we're always so worried about the end result or where we're going with what we have planned.
Mhm. Mhm. What do you wish more women your age talked about openly?
Yeah, you know, I didn't really know an answer for this one, so I had to like just sit, and the first thing that I could think that really came to my mind would be healthy living and healthy love. Like those are like the top two things that come to my mind, because like a lot of women wait too long, I think, to start caring about their health and taking care of themselves. And then also a lot of us aren't taught like healthy love, you know, so like we're out here like searching for someone else to like give us that love, when we need to focus on giving ourselves that love first. And then the universe will kind of give you what you need after that,
Right. Right.
you know. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just like we don't talk about those things until it's too late.
Mhm.
So I think like we should talk about it like more on like, you know, young women's side, and then like
Well, also understanding that knowing what love is at your age is different than knowing what love is at her age,
Most
and her
definitely.
age, and her age. So, you know, there's so many steps to it. So it's kind of like parenthood. You don't really have a guide or a book.
exactly, there's
But
no right
to
or
have
wrong.
the basic fundamentals, a lot of people don't have that. A lot of families don't teach their
Very
children.
quiet.
Yeah.
Hush hush.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not very open about expressing those things, or like,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And then of course, like, you learn your partner, so it's like in life, like, you know, there's give and take, and so like you have to learn different things with different people, because everyone is different.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
There's no right or wrong way.
I, you know, as your mom, I tried to do the best I could that, but again, there's no manuals. We just don't, you know, I stayed in a situation probably longer than I should have, which taught you bad things and taught you to stay in relationships that weren't good for you, trying to make things work. So that just comes with the territory, and you just don't know, you know, what's right or wrong in those situations. You want the family to stay together, but at the same time, you're also hurting the children sometimes.
In the
So you
long run,
just-
exactly.
In the long run, yeah. So you just don't never know, you know, what is the right choice during that time, and everybody tries to make the best decision that we feel is right at the time, but it isn't always. When you have the 20/20, the hindsight is like, oh, I probably should have done this different or that different. But it's formed you, who you are.
Most definitely, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
say like I regret anything that's
No, I
ever
don't think
happened
you do.
in my life.
Yeah.
Would I go back and change some things? Maybe.
Yeah.
But like decisions. But I
Mhm.
think everything that you go through in life is God's plan, and that like, you know, you can't really alter that. You know, He puts you through everything for a reason. So.
Absolutely. So that's the words of a 25-year-old. We're going to go to the words of an almost 30-year-old.
Almost.
Almost, yeah. So Jennifer, what's one life lesson you learned the hard way, but now wouldn't trade for anything?
I would have to say marrying my high school sweetheart, for sure. It came with a lot of challenges that was not expected. My whole life I just wanted, you know, to have this perfect family and to grow up and have kids and just boom, 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 your whole life just laid out for you. And so it's like, yeah, get married at 19 and 20. You know, but in all actuality, you don't realize how much growth you two have to go through. That, you know, it takes two to overcome those, because we are both changing daily, just like we'll change. We won't be the same people in 10 years from now. But I feel like it's a lot harder when you're younger, 19 and 20, and you've had mommy and daddy there cleaning and paying the bills and doing all the things, that responsibility that you didn't even know you
Was
had
part
to
of life.
carry.
Right.
And so when you get married and you move in and you learn, wow, we can't just be best friends and ride out on Sunset, you know. Those were some big challenges for us. We had to overcome a lot and to become united, you know, because we were so young, we didn't really understand biblically what that meant, to become one and to leave our parents. And that was hard, I think, especially for my husband. It was hard for me too, but a lot harder for him, because he's always had his family together and he didn't understand
a broken family.
a broken family. And I'm like, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to hit the road, let's start a family, let's do other things. And he was on a whole different spectrum of let's live life kind of how she is, to our fullest. I'm not here just to work. I want to go have fun.
Mhm.
But you can also have that in a family.
Oh yeah.
It's a good balance. But it is definitely something I wouldn't trade for anything.
Mhm.
Now that we've gone through a lot of them trials and
Mhm.
have hit past those bumps, and
Mhm.
you know, we're definitely in the best part of our marriage we've ever been.
Mhm.
But we're both very settled in who we are now,
Mhm.
and we also understand each other. Versus, it took a long time for us to understand each other because we both wanted to love the high school version of ourselves, and we'll never be that ever again.
Mhm.
And
So how long have you guys been together total?
I think so. This year will be 9 years.
Mhm.
So we've been together 12 years.
12 years.
12 years.
Mhm.
Yep, 9 years married, September, and 12 years together in September. So we got married on our 3 years of being together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that you're saying the struggle, but even still at my age, when Tommy and I, you know, moved in together and did all these things and playing house, and then when we actually got married a couple years ago, there's a lot of growth,
Yeah.
even at our age, in
Oh,
having to get to know one another and
Yeah.
having to
Never
learn
really thought about it that
to
way.
live together.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter
The
what age you are.
Mhm.
It's much harder at 19, I would say, than, you know, at my age. I'm a little wiser. Had I been 19 and in this relationship with Tommy right now, I wouldn't be in this relationship with Tommy right now, because I would have,
Yeah.
you know, the hot-headed me would have been like, see ya.
Yeah.
I'm not sticking around for this BS. But you know, so many people, it's so easy this day and age for people to, that's why divorce is so high,
Yeah.
is instead of working on it, nobody wants to work on it, they just want to walk away.
Yes.
And you know, being a fighter,
Yeah.
you know, we're fighters,
Fighters, for
and
sure.
we want to make it work. We want to do absolutely everything we can to make sure it works. And you know, I'm not saying my marriage is terrible. I'm not saying it's perfect. It's not. It's a work in progress, and it will be till the day we die.
But I think that's everybody's marriage, right?
Yeah.
It's always a work in progress, and
Mhm.
I'm just a firm believer that, you know, we can trade out one spouse for another, and you know, there's a handful of things that you cannot stand about this person, you know, that when you move into the next relationship, you're like, oh, you're molded, you're perfect,
Yeah.
and then a whole another set of problems come
Yeah.
that he
Mhm.
didn't have.
Mhm.
So we all have our own problems that we have to go through, and it's what you're willing to go through.
Right.
Now, I do think there are things in a relationship that you shouldn't stand up for, and you should, you know, walk away. And I mean, it biblically says that,
Yeah,
you know. And it's just being able to understand what those are and walk away.
The grass isn't always greener
No.
on the other side.
No.
No, if you
No.
water your grass,
Mhm.
it can be just as pretty as the other side, but you have to water it. You have to
Have
keep
water
that.
it. Right.
You have to keep that relationship fertilized and growing
Yes.
and know. But it takes two.
It does.
You have to have two
Definitely takes
people that are willing to come
Yes.
together and make that happen and make that work. And sometimes I think one spouse has to drag the other one along every once in a while, just to, you know, the other one doesn't really realize what they're doing.
You're taking on the load.
And sometimes you have to, you know, what happens with that, and I've seen you go through it, and I know I've definitely gone through it, and I'm assuming you probably have, and you have, and you'll probably get there. But what happens with that is we end up resenting the other person for certain things, and that's where a lot of marriages will fall apart. Is the other side is not taking the moment to stop and listen to what you actually need and what you're actually saying. And a lot of men, unfortunately, and not trying to throw them under the bus, will just feel like the women are nagging them.
Yes.
And that's, you know, when a woman is constantly telling you what they need and you constantly ignore that, they will, you know, the relationship will go.
Yes.
It'll separate. So you know, by God's grace, a lot of them can hold themselves together like you guys have been able to. You know, you've had your roller coaster, and I'm sure you and Terry have, and I know my mom has had roller coasters in her relationships. You know, Michaela's had a few long-term relationships that have been a few roller coasters for her, and she's very blessed right now. She has a wonderful young man, and we hope that stays that way. I'm sure there's going to be things, but it seems like a really good fit at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. It's fine. It's still recording. It's not recording. It's frozen. Oh well. Well, we got this one. It is what it is. We're gonna keep rolling because the main one isn't working right. So how do you keep showing up for others when your own cup feels empty?
I have to be very honest. This is a very hard question for me. Try to dig deep because I'm like, what is it? But honestly, I don't think there is a right answer to that. I don't have one. The only thing I can say is I think it's my personality. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time, because I can be such a light in a room, even though I could be dealing with something so heavy, where my cup is so empty, but most people don't see that or feel that. So when people do, it's like kind of a shock because they're like, whoa, there's Jennifer, and what happened to her? And I'm like, well, it's a long time coming.
All of a sudden, we just
my gasket popped. But I don't know. I think also, I think at the end of the day, it also boils down to my relationship with the Lord, and being able to have that peace and calmness.
Amen.
Yeah, I would have to say that faith, people, when I sit down and tell some people, like, my whole story, and they just look at me like, how are you not absolutely crazy or dead or strung out on drugs or an alcoholic or whatever? And it's just been my faith. If I had not had the faith that I've had, even just from a little kid, just always had that connection, have I wavered from it and ping ponged myself around? Yeah, absolutely. But he's always still been there with me.
And you felt his presence.
Even when I've decided to ignore the red flags he throws in my face. He'll keep giving you those trials until you figure it out. So, I think that we will continue to be fine if we keep that faith and keep that strength in God. I think that we all, and whoever you're, if you don't have a God, you have Allah or whatever it is for you, whatever your spiritual guide is, just keep that faith is a piece that is very important, I think, for everybody. If you could go back and give your 25-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, honestly, I would have to say, because especially during this time, I was a really big people pleaser. I would have to say, not to be such a big people pleaser. Because with that, it came to filling everybody else's cup while mine was constantly empty. And even though people thought I was extremely happy, at the end of the day, crying myself to sleep because nothing I did today was anything for me. It was for everybody else and everybody else's peace. And I am very bad about going, oh my gosh, what if it hurts somebody's feelings? But I'm like, wait, this is my child, because that's been a big part of it. And this is how I feel, and it should matter how I feel and how my husband feels, because that's our child.
That's right.
And that has become something very hard for me to overcome. But I'm overcoming it every day. I'm still not perfect, but I'm realizing, one little thing I'll do, I'll go, oh, I can breathe, where I'm not holding that grudge, or, going, they might not be able, they probably could feel that I'm feeling off because we've done something for somebody else when it's not what I want.
What's part of your growth?
Yeah.
Part of your growth and realizing, and you're just a natural people pleaser. You're a peacekeeper.
All the way around.
Absolutely, a peacekeeper. And now, don't get me wrong. She has given it to me one way and another. And sorry, I keep going off camera here, but but that's the youth in you. As a teenager, you had your emotions and your feelings about things, and I've not done some good things, and you had a right to feel the way you did, and I accept that responsibility and all that, and I understand, and we've had our conversations.
Of course.
But you being the people pleaser, though, you still, I am blessed with that, because if you weren't, you would probably still hate me. You probably wouldn't have taken the time had you not had that peace come upon you that was, you know, God given, that now we're able to have the amazing relationship that we're able to have.
Yes.
And you know, not every relationship is perfect, especially mother and child. We all have our struggles.
Well, absolutely. There's always
Yeah.
going to be that moment of let's agree to disagree.
Yes.
Always,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Michaela usually just tells me she's got to get off the phone.
It's time for me to
I'm
go.
gonna shut this down now, Mom.
You always said you have nothing nice to say. Don't say
Don't
nothing
say
else.
it.
That's
That's
right.
right.
I
That's
gotta
right.
cool off, Mom, before I say this.
She knows her boundaries. I could say that. She's, you know, mostly, for most of her life, she's been pretty good at her boundaries. There are some that she hasn't, but,
That comes with life, I
Yeah.
think.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Miss Jamie, it's your turn. I don't know if anybody could see her. I'll probably be out of camera for this one. You always seem grounded. What's your daily or weekly ritual that keeps you centered?
I think it's the conversations I have every morning with my husband.
I had a sneaking suspicion you would say that. And I can tell you, a little birdie told me that he absolutely lives by those conversations and wouldn't want anything different. Yeah. He lives for those conversations, and he says his day just wouldn't be right if you guys didn't have that. So I think that's pretty fantastic. I love it. To hear, he's such a sensitive soul
Yes.
and compassionate, and hearing the love that he has for you and for life and for your boys and for everybody around him. It's for the people that don't get to experience that, I pity them, because he has a lot of love and laughter, and he's such a good, he's just a good person.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm sure, you know, I've seen his he's wore his ass on his shoulders a few times. I have, you have, we all have. So he's not perfect, but I think he's perfect for us. He's our Terry. And even Lilybug thinks Uncle Terry is the bomb.com. So what's been your proudest I did that moment so far?
I think it was at my job.
Mm-hmm.
I had a voice, and I see men get raises all the time, and women just get
Looked over.
pushed over, yeah, pushed aside, and I step up and say, hey, this is what I want, and this is what you're going to give me. And
Good for
I had
you.
a voice,
Good for you.
and I raced to the top now.
Yeah. Well, a lot of
Look at
women
that.
won't, though, because we've been
So quiet.
quieted our entire lives. You know, we're not supposed to stand up and now, I'm not into some of this deep stuff that some of the Me Too women do this age. I'm still very traditional and old school in many ways, but I do feel that women need to have a voice and should be treated fairly.
Yes.
If they're doing the same work, the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
job, I don't
absolutely.
see why not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over gender.
Yeah. How do you define strength in a woman today, and has that changed for you over time?
This one's hard for me because everybody looks at me and say I'm the strongest person.
And you don't feel that, do you?
No.
Yeah.
And I do find strength in this is difficult for me.
You don't have to answer it. You answer it how you want to answer it. You don't have to do anything you're not comfortable answering.
Don't answer.
So if you're good to go, then we will move on. Okay, no problem. So when you met my brother, tell me a little bit about how that went when you guys first met.
Oh Lord.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to bring some humor into this. Oh, shoot.
I've been drinking.
No
No.
The first time I met your brother was at your Uncle Danny's house.
Mhm.
And I was with somebody at the time. And and he came over, and I do not remember this, but I went inside, and I guess I looked from his foot to all the way to his eyes and smiled real big, and I said to myself that, yeah, he's good looking.
He's a good looking man. He always has been.
And then a few months later, I just wanted to hook up.
You couldn't get that out of your brain, could you?
Me and my boyfriend had broke up. And
Uh-huh.
Let's
You
clear
do
the air on
remember
that.
I don't think anybody in 2025 is judging you on that. There's all kinds of Tinder hookups.
So me and my best friend at the time was dating Danny, and so we went to their house, and they weren't home at the time, so we noticed that they had a cooler full of beer, so we just helped ourselves. And then they showed up about half an hour later, and they had brought some, your cousin too,
Uh-huh.
had brought some women from the bar home.
No way.
Well, he seen that I was there for him, so he told the girl
Uh-huh.
nicely that I'll call you sometime.
How many years later did he ever call her?
Still waiting for that.
She's still waiting for that phone call. Oh, that's perfect. So, his ex got the child, you got the man.
Yes.
Yeah. There's been a lot of growth in your relationship.
Oh, yes.
A lot of things that have changed over the years. But I've always admired the love and communication and compassion that you guys have for one another. It is heartwarming to see a relationship be able to work like that in this day and age, because there's just
Yeah.
not a lot. I get, anytime somebody tells me how many years they've been married, I'm just like, you just don't hear that anymore. You know, there's so many divorces and people just give up so easy, and they don't try, and they don't try for anything. They just quit jobs and they quit life and they leave family, and it's just, nobody tries. It's just, they closing doors all the time because society has told them they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all they've taught them is, you know, you don't like something you're doing, or you don't like the situation you're in, leave. No. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. So, it's my mom's turn.
Oh my. Here we go.
Speak up, Mom.
I was just about to say that.
Speak up, Mom. You've lived through some amazing chapters. What's one story that still makes you laugh until you cry?
Well, that's kind of hard. I have a whole bunch of them, but the most of them has always been with your childhood, your brother's childhood, or my grandkids, or my great-grandkids, different things. And the most funniest one that I ever had from you and yours was this little gal sitting up there that's 25 years old.
No way. I can probably tell a few stories.
I was on the phone with you, and you told me that Michaela had been coming into the bathroom while you were changing things, and you told her that it was
These Mom's pull-ups.
pull-ups, right? Well, the next thing I know, I get another call, and she said, well, guess what, Mom? We're in the store, and there we are. We're right here, and Michaela goes, look, Mom, there's your pull-ups.
There's your pull-ups for when you poop your pants. Oh gosh, I didn't know whether I should crawl under the cart, over the cart, run out the door. A couple of women that are standing there, you can just see their shoulders going because they're laughing.
Yeah, I still
Look,
laugh
Mom.
about it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yes, she did. Do not tell Lily they're pull-ups.
But she would be the one to.
She
Oh,
would be the
Lily,
one to
absolutely.
say something like that. Yes, she
Yes.
would. She's definitely a little spitfire. How do you stay connected to your sense of joy even when life throws you curveballs? You've had a lot of those lately.
But learned over through the years because life wasn't easy even as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it's always falls back on God.
Mm-hmm.
Without Him, I'd be completely not here.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Mhm.
just,
Yeah.
that's been my, I know that He's taken care of it. He has kept me here,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what matters.
And he keeps you centered.
Yeah, He does.
Yeah, yeah. When you lose your way, he snaps you up and slaps you around and sits you down and
I get back up.
Yeah.
Because I know I can, because I know He's there.
He's
for me.
there. Yep. Yep. What legacy do you hope to leave behind in the hearts of women around you? You got 4 of us sitting here.
Right. I just hope that that you can see the strength that I have and build it into yourself.
Mhm.
I got a call from you and you said, Mom, I want to do this, and I said to myself, if Mom can do this, I can do it, you know, and that gave me so much good feeling to know that I have done at least a good example, right or wrong sometime, that I have been many times wrong. Like you say, there's no manual,
Mm-hmm.
and so you think you're doing what's right, but sometimes it doesn't turn out that way.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't always. No. You know, I've said on this thing a few times that my relationship with you has not always been perfect. We've not always been perfect. But I will say that in life, my mom has taught me to work. She's taught me to have faith. She's taught me a lot of things of what not to do. Like I've taught a lot of things for you of what not to do and what not to do. Don't make the same mistakes, kind of thing. You know, and I think that in learning some of my own mistakes and seeing the things that I've done, especially to my 2 older children, not intentionally, but things have happened because of my
Right.
past.
Yeah.
And I've learned forgiveness because I see that what you went through as a child, you don't know how or didn't know how to do certain things or how to handle certain things, and you made choices that maybe you shouldn't have made.
Right.
And I'm not innocent of any of that. I've made choices I shouldn't have made, and I've hurt children that I shouldn't have hurt because of my choices.
Right.
And so in that forgiveness, I have understanding. Now, it's not to say that I don't sometimes get mad about some of the things, and I don't get tore up from the floor up thinking about some things.
Right.
But I do, and you know, but it's important to me to know that in my heart, and this is why part of the other than my faith, that I can understand why you did some of the things that you did, because you're not perfect. And
Right,
you
no.
were raised in a generation where everything was kept under the carpet and
Oh,
skeletons
yeah.
were not talked about, and you chose to go on with life regardless of whether or not, you know, they're family, so you still had to be friends with them. This generation in 2025, we do not feel that way. Yes, and there's a lot of people on your side of the family I don't associate with, and I won't associate with.
Well,
It's a boundary I've had to set, and I've seen you do it now. Like, you know, in your later years, I've seen you do that, and I think it's important to understand that. Yes, you should still love and have compassion and try to have understanding. It's also okay to keep them here. You don't have to have them immediately right next to you. You can keep them at an arm's length. You set your boundary for what you're comfortable with.
Right.
But the best and most important piece of advice I could probably give on that is find understanding. And one person told me years ago, when somebody's doing something to hurt you, they're probably only acting from something that happened to them as a child. View them as a child and understand why it is they're acting the way they're acting. Because there's a trauma that has come from their childhood that brings them through and has brought through to this life. And I do that a lot with my husband. I have to stop and think, okay, he does these things because he was born right after his older brother, and there was a lot of he was, you know, ignored a lot, not on purpose, but you know, it was 9 months later, and the older brother's feeling left out, and what you know what I'm saying. So they paid more attention to the older brother, and Tommy just kind of got ignored.
Yeah, that's the way with Kim.
Yeah,
You know,
middle
he was
child
the middle
syndrome.
child, and so
Yeah.
he got lost between the baby and
Correct.
the oldest.
Yeah. So I try to. I'm not always, and sometimes I have to call her up, or I you know, I haven't gotten to calling you because you're usually at work, but I can call the three of them and just talk. Sometimes I just need to talk things through. I do go to a therapist, and she's great, and she will put me right in my spot. Because she's not going to hold anything back. If she thinks I'm full of duty, she's going to tell me I'm full of duty, and she's going to call me on that. And so she makes me think of things, you know, in a different light. And be like, oh, okay, I probably should maybe retract my brain on that. You know, she did actually take me back, all the way back to when I watched Daddy, you know, trying to kill you in the car. She took me all the way back to 5-year-old me standing there, and I could literally feel the gravel underneath my feet, and then the grass under my feet as we ran over to Ralph's house and
Get the help.
Yeah, and get the help. So she took me back to that, and it was very healing. It wouldn't sound like it would be healing, but it was very healing for me, because there's a window of time in my life from 5 to 9 when my dad started coming back around that I don't remember much of
Well, you
anything.
hid from him most of
Yeah.
the time because he scared you so bad.
Yeah.
It was a terrible day as far as it went, because we only had one car, so he had the car and you kids, and so when he came to get me, he left you two at the house, picked me up, and he had been drinking all day, and he got really so bad that I know that he was completely out of his mind when he started beating me upside the head. All I could do was just grab his hair and pull his hair, and his eyes was just gone. And then I seen you two kids standing there and seeing this, and it really angered me that, because I always tried to keep anything that he was doing wrong away from you as much as I could, because I didn't want you guys to be hurt by the things that was going on. And then right then, you guys had to face what was going on, and that was really tough for you guys.
Yeah.
But I was proud of you at the
It's
same
different.
time, because you did what I told you to do, both of you. So I said, get over there, call, you know, get the help, because he had lost it so bad. That was our last go around that she's talking about. That I walked into the house with the officer, and he had stuck several knives into the coffee table, waiting for me to walk back into the house, you know. So you, from that, more than Terry, and it just really irritated me so much, was you were so scared of your dad, you would hide. You didn't want to see him. You were scared of him. Afraid he might do something to you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just funny how I remember that. I don't remember being scared of him. I don't really remember much of anything. I barely remember going to school in a few places. I remember cutting my hair off and sticking it in the girl's desk next to me, and then cutting some of her hair off. And mind you, I have hair like down to here, and I cut it off. I didn't cut my hair.
Yeah, she come home from school and she says, I didn't cut my
I didn't cut my hair. She cut her hair. I certainly did. And of course, Mom was just mad, and she's like, "Wow, if you want short hair," and she literally gave me like a little bowl cut. I had that bowl cut for a long time. We'll have to find some pictures for you to see me and my little bowl
Lily
cut.
Yeah, Lily cut her hair one time, and I told her, I said, she got very lucky. It was back here. I said, you're very fortunate because you can't tell. But if you cut your hair again, that's where we're going to chop it to.
Yeah.
And so she hasn't come near scissors again.
What'd
She's
you do
like,
to your
Mama's
hair?
serious.
I got myself A mullet.
She did. She had a front mullet. Bangs way up here and some way down here. She got one piece off over here, and so I had to like.
There was no fixing it.
There was none.
It's
It's
so
gonna
short.
grow out.
Yeah.
And then she put it in the blanket and shoved the blanket underneath my dresser.
Well, she'll never know.
She'll never know I did this. All of a sudden, she goes from having no forehead to a 5-finger forehead.
I think y'all, just about every little kid cuts on their hair.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Out of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. It's funny because I didn't like wearing clothes much. And I know when Jenna was younger, she didn't like wearing clothes. I have more pictures of her running around in her diaper than anything. I would hide my clothes from her.
I don't care where she was at. Wearing underwear was not one thing she wanted
Still
to
don't.
do.
Still don't. Still a thing.
It's still a thing.
I go looking for her one
TMI.
day. I have to tell this story.
No way.
So I'm looking for Barb, and I'm looking for her. She's just a little girl, you know, year and a half, 2 years old, but she's always walking out of her diapers and her pull-ups or whatever she had on. And I'm looking for her, trying to find her, and there she was at the cistern. If you know what that is, it's just well that where the rainwater falls in. And she had took off her panties because she had poo-poo, and she was washing them.
Yeah, on the drinking water.
You're trying.
On the drinking water.
Oh, no.
I'm assuming you all poured some bleach or something down the cistern when I did that. I don't really know, but.
Oh my gosh.
I guess.
Well, we
Oh,
had the
God.
way away from the cistern, that was for sure.
Mhm. And I used to love to do what? And Grandma found me playing with one in the yard one time, and she beat it to death.
Oh, that snake?
Snake.
Oh, Lordy.
I would play
It
with
was a
snakes.
copperhead. It was a
That's
copperheading, and I had went to town.
Mom,
And
how are
She-
you
she-
alive?
I don't know. By the grace of God.
that's exactly what it was. Because she was just at crawling age and setting up. And when I got home, Grandma, the lady that she's named after, she came out and she seen her sitting there, and she looked and she seen that snake, and she said, "You're not hurting my baby, you boy!" And she just chopped that poor snake up till you couldn't even tell it was a snake.
Now I don't really like them. But it doesn't surprise me that Michaela has a fondness for those types of things.
I don't mind seeing.
I guess with age I've just gotten more afraid of them, but I remember hiking one time with Terry. We were all out in the woods and we loved to climb walls and stuff like that, and I climbed up a creek bank wall and threw my arm up over and was getting ready to throw my other arm up over, and I felt something. And I just eased my head up and I could see like this snake running over me that had like diamond shapes on its back, and it was just going over the top of my arm, and I'm just like,
Be still.
be very still.
Don't even let them fill my purse.
Yep. I'm surprised it didn't feel me, but maybe just because I had come out of the cool creek water, my
Maybe.
arm might have been cool
Cold
enough that
enough.
it didn't
Notice.
feel it. Yeah, it just went on, and I slid my arm back down and went on about my way on a different end
I
of the.
would say that was another blessing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We had this cabin that we had out in the woods that somebody built at some point. I'm sure it was for hunting. And then there was this hill that went down into the creek bed, and that's the one we were climbing up on the other side. But I do remember we had these snakes back home called the blue racers. I don't know what they really are, but they will chase you. And one of them, walking my way down to this creek, and it started chasing me, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. I get down to the bottom. I feel like it's bit me. It's bit me. Well, Terry's looking at it. He's trying to make sure I'm okay, and it's just where I had stepped on a stick. I'm like, it's right there. It bit me. He's like, no, that's too far apart. He couldn't have bit you. But I knew this snake had bit me.
Yeah, Yeah, but if you had,
Oh,
if you had
shoot.
turned around and chased
It chased it, it would have wouldn't be. Yeah, I was too freaked out at that point.
Sure. Yes.
Because he was just like, just at me. I was like, oh my god. And but there was one time. Have you guys don't know much about electric fences, but
I do a little bit.
the boys were
I've
ornery,
played
and
it.
we have a cousin that wasn't always the brightest bulb, bless his heart. And so the boys would chain hands and put him at the end, and they would pee on the fence, and he'd get shocked at the other end.
Oh my gosh.
That was the orneriness in the kids.
We were ornery. We were mean to each other. We had a ball. Well, it was back in the day when you didn't have to, you know, you left in the morning and you came back before dark.
Yeah,
and
yeah, you know, before dark.
we
that's
just,
right.
you know, we were all over the place and running those woods and.
Well,
You
you
didn't grow up on a
like
phone.
playing in the
No.
creek
Yeah.
quite a lot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Mudslides. We'd create mudslides, haul water up and get it all. Our butts would be all scratched up from the roots and stuff. I wouldn't dare let my kids do that now, or Lily.
Yeah, I think about the things I got to do. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Like, just, we weren't supposed to come in till that light was on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if she walks out the door, where you at? Where you going?
Yeah,
I'm like, we were
exactly.
outside for hours.
Oh
I had no
yeah,
idea
gosh,
where
the
we were,
world is so
what we
different
were
now,
doing,
though.
But you
Yeah.
can't
No,
let
it's
young
not-
kids
not
out
now.
by themselves anymore.
No,
Not the way
it's
the
sad.
world is.
No, not the way the world is. No, absolutely not. It's scary.
It's very scary.
I used to, go do things by myself, like at a young age.
Yeah, I'd
Like,
go
go to the
play in the creek
bathroom,
for
like, go
hours.
outside, run in the woods,
Yeah.
ride bikes, you know.
Mhm.
But now, like, we got too many weirdos out there.
Definitely too many
Craze.
days.
Too
Mhm.
many craze.
Not even just that, people just flying down the road, having zero respect.
Zero.
I mean, just crazy. I mean, we live on a one street neighborhood.
Yeah.
And
It's a dead end too.
It's a dead end. Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh.
They just haul tail through
Oh
there.
yes.
Mhm.
I'm like, gosh, what are you, 60 down this road? You, where? Why?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't get it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any of you ladies have any words of advice that you would give anybody to live by?
Just be true to yourself.
Yeah.
True to yourself.
I would say keeping, it's important to like keep women close to you, whether it be like family, friends, or something, you know. It's just good to have like a supportive circle that, you know, like you can come to and like you feel safe talking to, or like, it's important because a lot of us, you know, don't talk about things, you know, we
Right.
just bottle everything up.
Right.
So I think it's good to have like a good support system and know that like you can rely on that.
Mhm. I agree.
And don't forget you have that, you know,
Mhm.
because we tend to forget that a lot. And we
Like, don't
feel-
be afraid to talk about things because more than likely other women are going through it. That
most definitely.
we're very embarrassed by it, but then when we actually start to communicate about it, we're like, wow, this is actually so normal.
Mhm.
Exactly, because it's not talked about, or like, you know, you're not
Right.
expressive because you want to be a burden on somebody, or like, you know, everybody's got their stuff going on, but you know, they say like, you know, an 8 to 10 minute conversation is really all you need with someone.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's all you gotta take, 8 to 10 minutes. If you
Yeah.
spend so much time scrolling on social media or like
Mhm.
watching TV,
Yeah.
call someone up.
This is part of why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Is because I want people to know that there are voices and everybody has gone through something in life and they're not alone. It's a big thing for me for people to not feel alone, because I felt alone many times in my life, and don't take that personally, Mom. It's just
Oh, I
I have
understand.
felt alone many times in my life, and that's a feeling I don't want anybody to have. And it's a big thing for me, for someone to not feel alone. And my children, it's just been a big thing for me to be like, you know, I'm always an open, but please come talk to me. And we do. We have lots of long conversations, and even my boys will have long
Yeah.
conversations with me. Just like Zai called me up at almost 1 o'clock in the morning the other day to let me know that he had a God wink moment, because he was driving around and driving a little too fast, and just going through a breakup with a girl and a feeling like, you know, what do I got to live for? And I don't remember exactly what he was saying at the time, but the officer pulled him over and let him go. But Zai felt like that was God saying, don't ever think I'm leaving you because I'm right here. And that's how he took that.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
so he just, his whole demeanor and heartache kind of, he found his moment then. And
Very grounded.
yeah, I was half asleep. So I don't remember exactly what he said, but I just remember that being something that had affected him in a big way. And I love a God week moment.
Yeah.
And y'all are so close that he could call you at 1 o'clock and
Yes.
know that he could rely on you and that you were going to answer and be there for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he pulls at my heartstrings because he's, you know, pulled away from me kind of like she did. And I'm not used to that because my identity is my kids. And,
Yeah.
you know, when they were gone, I didn't know what to do with myself. And I still find myself struggling with that every once in a while, you know, how to not be
The empty nester.
mom. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to affect me. Even ask people that have known me from work. They're like, oh no, she'll be just fine. Guess what? I'm not. You know, this ripped my heart out a couple times. But yeah, don't be in a rush to get your kids out of the house. I wasn't, but you know.
And I would like to add one more thing.
Mhm.
We all need to be able to understand that we're only human beings. We are not perfect. And to be able to forgive ourselves for making stupid mistakes, you know, because if you can't forgive yourself, you can't move on to help your kids,
Right.
you know.
Absolutely. You have to have inner healing.
Yes, you absolutely have to have input. And I've spent a lot of time healing, and I definitely wasn't healed when I had my first 2 kids. Didn't really thought I was, and then all of a sudden I wasn't. So I spent some time healing again. Thought I was healed, and then went through some crazy things in my relationship at the time, which caused more hurt and trauma. Spent 8 years basically single and dated off and on, trying to heal, and still realized that, okay, I'm still not completely healed, and so you just never really are
You're never
Completely
fully
healed.
healed.
fully healed. You know, it's a work in progress all the time.
It is.
Even at
Yeah.
72, it's a work
It
in
is.
progress
Yeah.
of healing, and some trauma is more than other trauma. But I think I'm going to end this. I will remind everybody that we have our family member from back home, Bethany Ruby Bauer. She went missing on July 28th of 2021 in Newton, Illinois. She was age 38. They have not found her. She's a white female, 5'8". She was between 160, 170 pounds, straight shoulder length brown hair, hazel eyes. She's got freckles, and she has full dentures. And let's see, last seen leaving her residence without her belongings. Bethany has no cell phone, money, or transportation, and may be in danger. So if you know anything, www.missingillinois with an s.org is, it's actually pronounced Illinois, but you have to add that S on the end. And or call the Newton Police Department at 312-620-0788, and I'll make sure I have this information in the bottom of the podcast. But if anybody knows or hears anything about Bethany Ruby Bauer, we would appreciate you getting a hold of somebody and letting us know what you know. All right, ladies, thank you.
Yes. Thank you for having us.
We're gonna go spend some time in Tennessee.